Hello! You're playing an interactive story app by BH Media. In the middle of a forest, there was a beautiful girl named Rapunzel, who was locked in a high tower by a wicked witch. One day, a prince appeared and fell madly in love with her. Let's read the fairy tale Rapunzel and join the prince to save this lovely girl. Once upon a time, there were a man and a woman who had always wished for a child. The window at the back of their house overlooked a beautiful garden full of the finest flowers and herbs. However, no one dared to go into it because it belonged to a witch named Gothel. Wow, what a beautiful garden! One day, when the wife was standing by the window, she saw a fresh and green herb in the garden. She wanted to eat some of this herb. It was her greatest desire, which increased every day. Then she fell ill. The man loved his wife very much, so he decided to go into the garden and bring her some of the herb. When it was getting dark, the husband climbed over the wall into the garden and grabbed a handful of the herb. He took it to his wife, who ate it happily.
Here is that herb that you want to eat. Enjoy.
This herb is what I need. Oh, it's so tasty. The following day, the wife wanted to eat this herb again and begged her husband to take it to her. So the man set out once more.
How dare you climb over into
when
my
he had
garden
climbed over the wall,
and
he
steal
saw the
my
witch
herb?
standing before him. The witch became very angry and blustered at the man. Terribly afraid, he said,
Please forgive me. I had to have this herb. My wife saw it in your garden, and she will die if she doesn't eat it.
Then the witch said, You can take some of this herb, but only under one condition. You must give me your child after it's born. I'll care for it like a mother. In his fear, the man agreed to everything.
What nerve you have! How dare you climb over into my garden like a thief and steal my herb!
Please, please, forgive me. My wife will die if she doesn't eat this herb.
When the wife gave birth, the witch
I'll name her
appeared and
Rapunzel.
took the baby
Rapunzel.
away, though the poor couple cried and pleaded with her. Then the witch gave the child the name of Rapunzel.
My goodness, please, please don't take my baby away.
No, give her back to me! Give her back to me!
Rapunzel grew into the most beautiful child in the world. When she was 12 years old, the witch locked her in a tower in a forest. The tower had neither a door nor a stairway, but only a window at the top. When the witch wanted to enter the tower, she stood below and called out, Rapunzel! Rapunzel! Let down your hair! You know, Rapunzel had beautiful, long hair that shone like gold. When she heard Gothel's voice, Rapunzel let her braided hair fall down to the ground, and the witch would climb up by it.
Rapunzel! Rapunzel! Let down your hair!
One day, after a few years, a prince rode through the forest and passed by the tower. He heard a voice singing so beautifully from the tower that he stood still and listened. The prince wanted to enter the tower, but he found no door. So he returned home. But he fell in love with that voice so deeply that he went out into the forest every day and listened to it. One time, when the prince was standing behind an old tree, he saw the witch come up. Then he saw how Rapunzel let down her long hair and how the witch climbed up by it and went into her.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair.
Is that braided hair the ladder into the tower? I'll try climbing it. The next day, when it began to grow dark, the prince went to the tower and called out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair!" Immediately the hair fell down and he climbed up. When she saw him, Rapunzel was frightened, for she had never seen a man before. But the prince began speaking so kindly to her and told her how her singing had entered into his heart and how he wished to see her. Then Rapunzel lost her fear and the prince proposed to her. She thought to herself, "I certainly like him much better than old Mother Gothel." So she said yes. And they were married. Every time the prince came, he brought a bit of silk with him, so that Rapunzel could weave a ladder with it. When the ladder was finished, they would climb down and run away.
Don't be afraid, please. I've fallen deeply in love with your singing. I just wanted to see you.
The witch knew nothing of all this, until once Rapunzel said to her, "Mother Gothel, how is it that you climb up here so slowly, whereas the prince is with me in a moment?"
At this, the witch flew into a rage and cried, "You godless child! I thought I had hidden you from the whole world, and yet you've cheated me!"
The witch grabbed Rapunzel's beautiful hair and snip-snap cut it off. The lovely braids lay on the ground. She was so angry that she took Rapunzel into a desert place where she had to live in misery.
Mother Gothel, please, please forgive me. I promise not to cheat you again.
How dare you cheat me? Let's see if you can meet your prince without your long hair.
Then the witch came back to the tower and tied the cut-off hair to the hook of the window. When the prince came and called out as usual, she let the hair down. He climbed up, but instead of his beloved Rapunzel, he found the witch looking at him with wicked eyes. She cried mockingly,
"Aha! You came for your darling! But the sweet bird sits no longer in the nest and sings no more. And you, I will make sure you won't see her again."
In his despair, the prince fell down from the tower. He became blind, for the thorns into which he fell pierced his eyes.
Rapunzel, I'm here with you.
Oh! Ha ha ha! The cat got that bird, and you will be blind. Ah!
From then on, the prince wandered about in the forest, eating nothing but roots and berries, and doing nothing but weeping over the loss of his dearest Rapunzel.
Ah, strawberries!
Rapunzel, where are you? The prince wandered about and reached the desert place where Rapunzel lived with her twins,
I worried about you
a boy
so much.
and a girl. When he approached, Rapunzel recognized him. She ran towards him, fell into his arms, and wept. Amazingly, when her tears touched his eyes, they became clear, and he could see again. The prince took Rapunzel and their kids to his kingdom. They were joyfully received and lived happily ever after. That's the end of the story, Rapunzel. Kids, if you have conviction, energy, and a true love, you can change your life and stay away from bad things. I hope you will always keep your dedication to get over all the challenges and difficulties in your life. Goodbye, and see you again.
My goodness, I can see again. Thank you so much, Rapunzel.
Look,
Mom!
he's our
Dad!
father.
Hello, kids. Would you like to travel to the magical world where there are dancing and singing toys? There you can join the 25 Tin Soldiers, and one of them is very special. Do you like that? That's the magical world in Hans Christian Andersen's story, The Brave Tin Soldier. The table was covered with many toys, and the prettiest toy was a little paper castle. In the castle's open doorway stood a beautiful paper dancer who stretched out both her arms and stood on one leg. The girl raised one of her legs so high behind her that the soldier could not see it. He thought that she, like himself, had only one leg. That thought made him fall in love with her. The boy stood the tin soldier up on a box, which was near the castle. The soldier was very delighted, as he could now see the beautiful girl best. What a beautiful girl. She has only one leg, like me. At midnight, when everyone went to bed, it was time for the toys to play. Only the one-legged tin soldier and the dancer remained in their places. He never took his eyes off her for even a moment. Bing! Bong! The clock struck 12. Suddenly, the lid of the box sprang up. There jumped out a large goblin. The tin soldier fell off the box, but he still stood firmly on one leg and watched the dancer. The goblin said,
Tin Soldier, don't wish for what does not belong to you.
but the tin soldier pretended not to hear and ignored the goblin's threats.
Tin Soldier, don't wish for what does not belong to you. You just wait until morning, and don't say I didn't warn you.
The next morning, the servant maid cleaned out the room and put the tin soldier on the windowsill. Suddenly, a strong wind made the window swing open. The soldier thought it was the goblin who did it. Then the soldier was thrown out the window. He fell to the ground and got stuck in between the paving stones with his one leg up in the air. The boy went outside to find the soldier, but he didn't see him. The soldier wanted to cry out for help, but he remembered that soldiers can't speak while in uniform, so he kept quiet.
How strange it is. Where did he fall down?
Where's my tin soldier?
No, I'm in uniform. I can't call for help. Shortly afterwards, two boys saw the tin soldier and picked him up. They placed him in a boat of newspaper and sent him sailing down the gutter. Away the boat sped, floating down the gutter. How rough the water was, and how big the waves were in that gutter. The boat rocked up and down. The tin soldier became very scared, but he stood as firm as ever.
Bravo, one-legged tin soldier.
Aha! Look, the boat is going fast.
Then the boat tipped into a very dark tunnel. The tin soldier felt worried. He thought of the dancer and wished she would be by his side now. Suddenly, a water rat appeared and shouted,
Where's your passport? You can't travel through this tunnel without a passport.
The tin soldier kept silent, since he didn't want to answer this disgusting animal. The boat sailed on, and the rat followed it. He cried out to the sticks and straws floating on the water to stop the soldier, but nothing could stop that boat now. Where am I going now? How dark it is! If only you, the beautiful dancer, were here with me.
Stop! Show me your passport. Stop him! Stop him! Stop him! Stop him!
At last, the tin soldier could see glimpses of daylight. Suddenly, he heard a roaring sound like the sound of thunder. There at the end of the tunnel, the stream thundered downwards into a canal. The boat plunged downwards, but at that very moment, the tin soldier stood stiff and still. The boat whirled around 3 or 4 times and then filled with water to the very edge. The paper became soft, and both the boat and the soldier sank.
Serves you right. It's the result of not showing me your passport.
The poor tin soldier thought of the beautiful dancer. He hadn't even joined any battle. He then thought to himself, I'm a soldier. I can't die like this. But when he sank into the water, a big fish swallowed him whole. How dark it was inside the fish! It was even narrower than his box. But the soldier didn't lose his courage. He lay there in the fish's stomach. The fish began to twist, and at last he became quite still. The soldier saw a flash of lightning. That was the bright sunlight. It turned out that the fish had been caught, taken to the market, and sold to the servant maid. She cut the fish open and found him inside. She placed the soldier on the table where he could join his brothers and see the pretty castle and the beautiful dancer standing on one leg like him. The soldier wanted to cry, but he didn't do it. Soldiers can't cry, he thought.
Aha! I declare! Here's the tin soldier. That's amazing!
Let me see it. Let me see it.
Suddenly, the boy picked up the tin soldier and threw him into the burning stove. The boy said that the soldier had survived in water, so now he wanted to see if the soldier could survive in fire. Why did the boy do such a cruel thing? It must have been the goblin's fault. The bright colors of his uniform were washed off. He looked at the dancer, and she looked at him.
My goodness! What are you doing?
This tin soldier is still alive, despite falling down in the water. I just want to see if he'll be alive after being thrown into fire.
A moment later, the soldier felt himself melting away, but he still remained firm with his gun on his shoulder. Suddenly, a wind caught the dancer, and she flew like a fairy right into the stove by the side of the tin soldier. And there, the flames caught her, and she was gone. Soon, the soldier melted down into a lump. The next day, the servant maid took the ashes out of the stove, and she found the soldier in the shape of a little tin heart. So the wish of the tin soldier finally came true. He was with the beautiful dancer forever. The tin soldier is brave and admirable, even though he has only one leg, isn't he? You should follow the example of the tin soldier, who never gave up but tried to overcome difficulties. That's the end of the story, The Brave Tin Soldier. Do you like that adventure of the tin soldier? If yes, let's tell it to your friends. Goodbye, and see you again soon.
Hello, kids. I know an interesting story called The Three Little Pigs, which is about three little pigs who built houses for themselves. What will their houses look like? Are you curious about them? I'll tell you the story right now. Let's read on and find out. Once upon a time, there was a mother pig who lived with her three little pigs in a small house. The three little pigs grew very fast. One day, their mother called them around her and said, "My children, you are all grown up now, and you can't live here any longer. You have to build new houses for yourselves, but take care that the wolf doesn't eat you." The three little pigs politely obeyed their mom and set off. "My children, you are all grown up now, and you can't live here any longer. You have to build new houses for yourselves." "Oh, yes. Yes, Mom. We'll obey you." On their way, they met a farmer who was carrying a bundle of straw. The eldest pig asked, "Can you please give me some straw? I'll build a house with it." The farmer was very kind, and he agreed immediately. "Ah, hello, little pigs. Can you please give me some straw to build my house?" "Oh, sure. Here, you can take as much straw as you want." Can you really build a house with straw?" Then the eldest pig built a house out of straw. He was very pleased with it. He said, "Now the wolf won't catch me and eat me." The two younger pigs were determined to build their own houses too. They said, "We'll build houses that are stronger than yours." They then went along the road. "Haha, my house is beautiful, isn't it? It's very strong, and the wolf won't hurt me." "I don't think this house is strong enough. I better build a better one." "I'll build a house that is stronger than yours." Not long after that, the two little pigs saw a woodcutter who was carrying a bundle of sticks on his shoulders. The second pig quickly asked him for some sticks to build his house. The second pig soon had his house built with sticks. It looked stronger than the house of straw. He felt very confident in his house. The youngest pig said, "I'll build a stronger house than yours." Then he walked along the road by himself. "Second pig, are you at home?" "Ah, youngest pig, is that you?" "Youngest brother, my house is really beautiful, isn't it? You won't find any house that is as nice and strong as mine." It's quite good, but I'll build a stronger house. Goodbye." The youngest pig met a builder who was wheeling a barrel full of bricks. He asked for some bricks to build his house, and the builder was kind and he agreed. It was very hard and time-consuming to build a house with bricks, but the youngest pig finally built himself a house with bricks, which was very strong. "Hey bear, can I have some bricks, please?" "Here you are. Catch them." One day, a wolf came to the eldest pig's house of straw. Then the pig saw the wolf coming. He was frightened and ran inside his house. The wolf knocked on the door, but the eldest pig was determined not to open it for him. The wolf took a deep breath and puffed. The house fell down, so the eldest pig hurriedly ran to the second pig's house. "Quick, run and hide! Look, a wolf! Hurry up!" "Hey, fatty pig, your house is so beautiful. Open the door and let me in." No, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin." "Aha, good. We'll see. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." The wolf chased him to the second pig's house. He knocked on the door loudly. The two pigs were so terrified that they didn't dare open the door. The wolf then huffed and puffed. The house of sticks shook and then fell down, so they had to run to the youngest pig's house. "Open the door for me, fatty pig." No, not by the hair on our chinny chin chins." "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." The three little pigs quickly ran inside the house of bricks and shut the door. Again, the wolf tried to huff and puff. He thought that he would blow this house down as he had done with the previous ones and eat all the fatty pigs. Amazingly, the wolf tried to huff and puff and huff and puff, but the house didn't fall down. "I ask you once again, are you going to open the door for me?" "Never! You can't hurt us." "Good, I'll eat you up. You'll see." You are exhausted, aren't you? The wolf got very angry. He climbed onto the roof and intended to enter through the chimney, but the youngest pig was very smart. He put a big pot of boiling water below the chimney, and the wolf fell into it and was severely burnt. He was frightened and ran away. The three little pigs smiled, held hands, and sang very happily together. That is the end of the story. You see, because the eldest pig and the second pig wanted to build their houses quickly, their houses weren't very strong, and they were blown down by the wolf. The youngest pig was hard-working and careful, so he built a safe and strong house. The youngest pig is really praiseworthy, isn't he? I hope that through this story, you'll learn one more lesson of being careful and working hard so that you can do a lot of praiseworthy things. Goodbye, and see you next time. Hot, hot, hot! Enough to die! It serves you right, the wicked wolf. Serves you right. How dare you threaten anyone else? It serves you right, the wicked wolf.
Hello, kids! Would you like to take a journey to the ancient Persian Empire to admire the beautiful dancers, hunt the mysterious treasure, and kill the merciless thieves? Let's listen to the story of AliBaba and the 40 Thieves. Once upon a time, in Persia, there lived a poor woodcutter named AliBaba. One day, when he was in the forest, he saw a troop of robbers coming towards him. Afraid, he climbed into a tree for safety. After a while, the thieves dismounted their horses under the tree which AliBaba was hiding in. He counted 40 of them. The captain of the thieves walked up to a large rock and uttered the words, "Open sesame!" The large rock began to move, and a door opened in it. The robbers heaved their great chests into the cave. They came out after staying some time inside. The captain said, "Shut sesame!" and closed the door.
What are they doing?
Open sesame!
Huh? The rock. The rock. The rock is moving by itself?
Shut sesame!
After the robbers had walked some distance away, AliBaba climbed down and approached the strange rock,
Open sesame!
shouting, "Open sesame!" The rock immediately opened up.
Gold!
AliBaba
Am I
entered the
dreaming?
cave, and he was greatly surprised. The cave was filled with rich bales of merchandise and gold in heaps. AliBaba loaded his 3 mules with the bags of gold. Then he came out and shouted, "Shut sesame!" When he went home, AliBaba told everything to his wife. The poor couple became very happy. AliBaba's wife wanted to measure the gold, so she ran to her brother-in-law Kasim and borrowed a scale.
How can we measure all this gold?
One at a time. We have another bag.
Oh, that poor couple? How could they have anything to weigh? Kasim's wife wondered. So she secretly put some glue at the bottom of the scale. When she got the scale back, she was shocked to notice that a gold coin was sticking to it. She rushed off to tell her husband, Kasim.
Sister, I will carry the scale back to you.
Not
Thank
a
you.
problem. Bye. Gold! They weighed gold! I've got to tell my husband right now.
You know, Kasim was very rich, but he was greedy and jealous too. He went to AliBaba to clarify the origin of gold immediately. AliBaba innocently told his brother about his adventure. Upon hearing this, Kasim set out with 10 mules to the cave, hoping to gather as much of the treasure as possible. Because he was too infatuated with the treasure, he forgot the very words to use to open the door again. In the meantime, the thieves returned to their cave. They killed him and left.
I'm rich! Ha 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 ha! Open peanut! Oops, why does it remain closed? Open corn! Open cassava! Open potato! Oh no, the words are still wrong.
Open sesame!
Aha! That's right. Open sesame! Thanks, buddy.
AliBaba in the search for Kasim, who was found dead in the cave. He took his brother to his home and buried him carefully to avoid suspicion from other people. The 40 thieves, on their return to the cave, found Kasim's body was gone. They knew they had been discovered.
What is the one
One of the
chubby
thieves
man doing in front
quickly
of the
found
door to my
AliBaba's
house?
home and marked it with a piece of chalk. However, AliBaba's smart maidservant, Morgiane, spotted the mark on the door. Quickly guessing that some mischief was brewing, she put the same mark on all the other doors. The following day, when the 40 thieves went into town, they saw the houses were all chalked in the same manner. They couldn't distinguish AliBaba's house from the others. So they had to return, while AliBaba survived, thanks to his clever maidservant, Morgiane.
Have you found it yet?
Captain, it's over here.
Found it, Captain.
Captain, this is the house.
Stupid thieves! You've been fooled!
Refusing to give up, the captain resolved to go himself. He then found AliBaba's house. This time, he disguised himself as an oil merchant. He loaded the mules with big jars of oil in tow. You know, each jar didn't contain oil, but rather a thief. When it became late, the captain came to AliBaba's door and asked to stay for the night, something a kind Ali consented to.
Good evening, sir. Can you please give us a bed for the night? Yes, of course. Come in, please.
Luckily, Morgiane found the thieves in the oil jars, who were waiting for their leader's signal to kill AliBaba. She heated a large kettle full of oil over the fire, and then poured the boiling oil over every one of the robbers, wiping out the whole band. The captain knew his plot had been discovered, and he fled into the night. AliBaba was so grateful to Morgiane for saving his life once again.
Captain, it is time.
Not yet, but soon.
Ouch! Hot!
The captain, now alone, firmly resolved to avenge his lost companions. He disguised himself as a cloth merchant and soon made friends with the AliBaba family. When AliBaba held a party to entertain the merchant, the captain intended to murder him. But luckily, Morgiane recognized him. She dressed up as a beautiful dancing girl who danced for pleasure. Suddenly, she thrust a sword into the impostor's heart, ending his life.
My guest, you are pleased, aren't you?
Arrgh!
AliBaba was so grateful to Morgiane for saving his life that he offered her to his son in marriage. Do you want to know what happened to the rest of the treasure in the cave? AliBaba used it to help the poor people around. The story of AliBaba and the 40 Thieves is thrilling and compelling, isn't it? From the story, we learn a lesson that kind, brave, and ingenious people like AliBaba and Morgiane will enjoy happiness and good luck. On the other hand, greedy and wicked people will be punished appropriately. Thank you for reading this story. Goodbye, kids. See you next time. Hello, kids. In a forest, there was a beautiful princess who was cursed by an evil fairy and fell into a sleep for 100 years. Will the princess ever wake up? Will she be rescued from that magic spell? Let's read the story Sleeping Beauty to find out the answer. Once upon a time, there lived a king and a queen who had no children for many years. Every day the queen sighed and said, "If only we had a child." But for a long time, they had none. One day, when the queen was bathing in the river, a frog jumped out of the water and said, "Before a year has passed, you'll give birth to a beautiful baby girl." What the frog said came true, and at last the queen had a daughter.
Your Majesty, before a year has passed, you'll give birth to a baby girl.
Do you really mean that? I hope my wish will really come true.
The king gave a feast to mark his baby's birth. He wanted to invite all the fairies in his kingdom, but there were 13 fairies, and he had only 12 golden plates. So, one fairy had to be left out. The 12 fairies who came presented the princess with many magical gifts. After the 11th fairy spoke her wish, the 13th one suddenly appeared. She was very angry at not being invited to the feast. She said, "When the princess is 15 years old, she'll prick her finger on a spindle and she'll die." Then she left as suddenly as she came. All the guests were horrified, but the 12th fairy quietly stepped forward and said, "The princess won't die. She'll only fall into a sleep that will last 100 years."
The princess will have a personality as sweet as an angel. The princess will have a wonderful grace in all she does or says. The princess will be the most beautiful woman in the world.
When the princess is 15 years old, she'll prick her finger on a spindle and she'll die. I can't break that evil spell, but the princess won't die. She'll only fall into a sleep that will last 100 years. To keep the curse from happening, the king told everyone that they were forbidden to spin, and all spindles were removed from the kingdom, so there was nothing on which the princess could prick her finger. When the princess grew up, all the wishes of the fairies came true. She was beautiful, kind, clever, and everybody loved her. One day, when the princess was 15 years old, the king and queen went out. The princess was left alone at home, and she wandered about the whole palace all by herself.
Princess, please stop! You should not be wandering around all
Don't
by
worry,
yourself.
nothing
It's
is
dangerous.
going to happen. I can take care of myself.
At last, she came into a little room at the top of the tower. She turned a rusty key, and the door flew open. There she found an old woman spinning cloth on a strange-looking machine. Seeing a spindle for the first time, the princess was curious. But as she tried to get the spindle to work, the needle pricked her finger. She fell asleep immediately, and the old lady put her on the bed nearby.
Hello, who are you and what are you doing? Can you please let me try it?
I am spinning. Come nearer if you want to try.
Thank you so much.
When the princess pricked her finger and fell asleep, everyone else in the palace fell asleep too. The fire in the oven grew still. The cook who was roasting the meat fell asleep, and so did the king and queen, who had just come back from their trip. As the years passed, rose bushes began to grow up around the palace. People in the kingdom said there was a princess called Rose sleeping in the palace. After a while, she became known as Sleeping Beauty. Many times a prince would come by and try to enter the castle to rescue the princess, but none could get in because they couldn't pass through the thick rose bushes. After 100 years had passed, a prince visited the kingdom. He was told about the story of Princess Rose asleep in the palace. He wanted to find her to see if he could awake her. Everyone told him not to go because many other princes had tried and been caught in the bushes and had to give up. However, the prince was determined to find out the truth for himself.
Prince, don't go, please. Those bushes are so thick that no one can pass through. You'll be caught in them.
I'm not afraid. I'll certainly find the beautiful Princess Rose.
Amazingly, when the prince tried to get through the thick bush, the roses bloomed beautifully, and all the bushes opened up by themselves to let him pass through. The prince was astonished at the sleeping palace. Everything was exactly as it was 100 years ago when the princess fell asleep. The palace was so quiet that he could hear himself breathing. The prince walked through the palace until he reached the room at the top of the tower where Princess Rose was lying asleep. She was so beautiful that the prince couldn't take his eyes off of her. He knelt beside her and gave her a sweet kiss on her lips. At that very moment, the princess opened her eyes and looked at him tenderly.
My goodness, is this Princess Rose? How beautiful she is.
Who are you? Why did you wake me?
The couple walked down the stairs hand in hand. Everyone in the castle awoke, and so did the king and queen. The fire in the oven flickered again, and the cook continued to turn the roast. The king and queen were so delighted that they held a wonderful wedding for the prince and princess, who lived together happily ever after. Kids, the prince's kiss woke the princess, but it was his bravery and true love that broke that magic spell. There are many miracles in our world, so you should always try to be good and make the most of your time in school by learning all you can. Be brave, as this will help you find the miraculous things in life. Thank you for reading the story. Goodbye.